So good morning. My name is Laura Addison. I am the Curator of North American and European Folk Art here at the Museum of International Folk Art. And about maybe even 3 years ago, the Symposium was just the seed of an idea to explore Girard's exhibition Multiple Visions and his relationship to folk art more deeply. Specifically, we wanted to bring Vitra Design Museum's gorgeous retrospective, curated by Johan Eisenbrand, who is here today. We wanted to bring a designer's universe here to MOIFA because it was an opportunity to show Girard's folk art collection and his design legacy side by side, and to find those intersections between his collecting and his creating. Today's symposium may come at the close of the exhibition, but it is only the beginning of the museum's refocused investment in Girard and our contribution to the booming scholarship on Girard. And I think that's accurate to say that there is this tremendous renaissance of interest in Alexander Girard, thanks in large part to first Todd Oldham mining the archives, and now Johan's exhibition that is traveling worldwide and will continue to travel after it closes here. It goes to Palm Springs, and then I believe has at least 1 or 2 venues thereafter, perhaps yet to be confirmed. So I'm going to set the stage for today's talks, which center around the way in which Girard approached and displayed material culture from around the world, including in our very own Girard wing. I use the phrase set the stage intentionally, for a sense of theater and the performance of a human drama in miniature are present in the Girard wing. Girard chose to preface the exhibition Multiple Visions with paper theaters, or juvenile dramas as they're also called. These were popular printed theaters from 19th century Europe that could be purchased, constructed, and performed according to an abridged script provided with that theater. Girard referred to the various scenes in Multiple Visions as sets or habitats. Set is the term I prefer because it evokes the stagecraft that he engaged in imagining and constructing the displays in the Girard wing. Although it may go without saying, it is very important to underscore the fact that the global villages that Girard created in Multiple Visions came from his imagination. Oftentimes, these sets were representations of different countries or cultures of inhabitants in villages from Italy, Portugal, Poland, Peru, Mexico, the United States, India, China, Russia, Morocco, and many other countries. I love that whenever you talk about Girard and you talk about the scope of his work, the list is endless. Whether it's about the different, what he did in the Girard wing, or the elements that he created for Braniff, or all of the elements he did in La Fonda del Sol restaurant. So there's lots of listing when it comes to talking about Girard's accomplishments. Other times, the sets in Multiple Visions blend multiple cultures together, creating a pan-cultural scene. The Girard wing represents a conundrum for museum staff in some ways. It is the sometimes uneasy cohabitation of one individual's marvelous invention that is so unique and so central to 37 years of visitor experience at this museum that it demands to remain exactly as it is for years to come. But also with the museum's desire and responsibility to follow best practices, whether related to collections care, art conservation, museum education, or current thinking about visitor engagement and interpretation. What is a museum to do when objects specifically placed and chosen into Girard's composition by him fade or deteriorate, or when visitors in conducted surveys ask us to provide more information and context, or when new and more diverse audiences require a different approach to interpretation than museum visitorship did nearly 4 decades ago? For a museum that collects and exhibits international material culture, context is paramount. And yet, cultural context and cultural specificity was not the objective for Girard. Rather, he looked to convey what he saw as universal about humanity. His market scene in the wing shows a shared love of food, and the beadwork wall is a cross-cultural vignette of a particular practice that demonstrates a common bond regardless of culture or geography. This sentiment is summed up in the Italian saying, tutto il mondo è paese, all the world is hometown, which Girard quoted in his statement about Multiple Visions and which appears at the entrance to the exhibition. As many here are likely aware, Alexander Girard specified that there be no object labels in the wing. A purely visual experience and the individual stories visitors gleaned from the exhibition was his objective. How does a museum rooted in context reconcile its educational mission and at the same time honor a space and experience as unique as Girard designed? There has been a shift in recent decades on how museums perceive themselves with respect to the communities whose cultural objects they collect and display. The emphasis is on working with communities and deferring to those communities as the true experts on the objects in question and the true owners of those objects for which a museum acts merely as custodian. This rethinking of the authority in a museum is resulting in more collaborative processes and different means and messages of storytelling. These that I've listed are some of the many ideas and questions that Girard's wing allow us to think about daily as museum staff and to begin to articulate at the symposium today. So this morning's lectures are presented by Dr. Ira Jackness and Dr. Christian Viella. Their talks consider the museum's role with respect to culture through an anthropological lens and an art historical lens, respectively. Bringing various perspectives from various disciplines was an important criteria in organizing this symposium. And this afternoon is when we have the case study conversation, which will be guided by Dr. Kimberly Pinder and will include talks by Charlene Cerny, Felicia Katz-Harris, and Matthew Martinez. So now, it's my pleasure to introduce our Master of Ceremonies, who will shepherd us through these 2 days of looking more closely at Alexander Girard's folk art worlds and design legacy. And so we thought in deciding who we would invite to be Master of Ceremonies, who better than a former MTV host. Todd Oldham is a designer who, like Alexander Girard, defies categorization. Originally working in fashion, Todd has also been involved in interior design, furniture and graphic design, film, photography, and book design. A natural storyteller, Todd will share with us today some of his own observations or anecdotes related to Girard, about whom he did the extensive and very, very heavy tome called Alexander Girard. So please welcome Todd Oldham.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you. And what a treat to be in a room with so many Girard lovers as I am. Mr. Girard was extraordinary in every single way. While I didn't have the pleasure to get to meet him or shake his hand, I very much feel like I know him. And I understand him in different sorts of ways. I not only from a scholarly point of view, where I had the great pleasure of, with Corey and Marshall Girard, to be able to crack open the entire archive at the Vitra to figure out what sort of jewels we had upon us with to be able to make this book. But also for someone that could see sort of in the future and the past at the same time. Girard is full of mystery. We know much about what he did and the way he did things, but there's still this incredible amount of wonder. How could one person achieve this much? But also, how could one person see so much connective tissue between so many different cultures and points of view to bring it all together to make something so warm and so comfortable, but yet we've never seen this sort of thing before. Now, you all are in such an incredible space at this moment because this is sort of ground zero for where much of this work came from. Not only the exquisite folk art exhibition that Mr. Girard designed himself, but now we get to see the other side of the coin, Girard's exquisite personal work, not only through commercial things, but the beautiful boxes that he made for family members, the love that he shared with his brother through this incredible communication they made. You'll see all of it at one time, and that's, to me, the quickest way to understand the way Mr. Girard sort of thinks and be able to understand his Rosetta Stone, if anybody could ever possibly understand it in the most graceful way. The Folk Art Museum is full of things that we can tell humans have touched. Literally, we see thumbprints in many of the things in that room. And when you see the incredible, the design integrity of Mr. Girard's commercial work, in many cases it does not look like human hands have touched it. It seems like it came beamed down from the ethers in many cases. So I love that we can experience here the duality that seemed to be always in Mr. Girard's head at all times. He could see the most luscious hand-hewn object and understand how to make something as sleek and modern and gorgeous as possible. And I see that he handheld those things in equal measure at all times. He was quite an extraordinary man, and I think through the conversations today, you'll be able to learn a lot more about him and be able to sort of explore what interests you the most, because he's a very deep well. You'll find many facets of Mr. Girard's oeuvre and desires that will certainly touch yours. So it's my pleasure to be with you today.